Our full discussion of Once Upon a Time's episode 703 coming up in just a moment. Subscribe to Once Podcast over at oncepodcast.com. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Android, and any of your favorite podcast apps. oncepodcast.com. You're listening to Once, episode 309, The Garden of Forking Paths. Welcome back to another episode of Once, the unofficial podcast for ABC's TV show, Once Upon a Time. I'm Daniel J. Lewis.
I'm Jeremy Laughlin.
I'm Erin.
And we're ready to talk about The Garden of Forking Paths, this time without a 45-minute introduction.
I mean, I'm ready to talk about the episode that went by that bizarro title, which is really the garden of all kinds of things, but no forking paths.
Are you thinking Poisonous Trees?
Yes.
Are you thinking Planet of the Apes?
This title corresponds to the fruit of the poisonous tree or whatever that weird title that made no sense, except that they didn't even say the phrase. They worked it into the episode back then, but they didn't work this phrase in at all.
Yeah, there's some kind of pop culture reference to this. Those who know it know exactly what it is. Those who don't, sorry, I can't bring that to you, but it will probably be in the comments over at oncepodcast.com/309. It's about some play, I think it was. I didn't actually copy that to my notes.
Really?
Yeah, there's some actual connection with... Whoops. And now the podcast's over, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
No 45-minute introduction here.
No
45
introduction
seconds.
and no episode.
Don't start typing when the soundboard is selected.
Daniel's tip of the day.
Because every sound effect on the soundboard is a letter on the keyboard.
So not 45 minutes, but we don't do initial reactions anymore. So I want to know what you guys thought of this episode as a whole. That's not a pun with a hole in the garden, which is where the forking paths actually were.
I'm kind of in the middle of the forking paths on this one.
Well, you're gonna have to pick.
No.
Oh, okay.
Because you and Aaron can be the polar opposites this time, and I'll be the one in the middle, maybe.
Oh, okay.
But I feel this episode had some interesting things and some meh kind of things. A decent episode. One thing I'll say, though, is I'm really getting to see Dania Ramirez, who plays Cinderella. Her acting abilities are fantastic. Her ability to express emotion and look so genuinely feeling whatever that emotion is. She does that really well. She's doing a fantastic job playing as Cinderella/Drizella.
Nope. Jacinda.
And again.
Man, she really is good. She's also Drizella. That's fantastic.
No, really, this is a segue into my theory that they are both, because, you know, we didn't see either of them. And no, I mean, never mind.
What
anyway,
is happening?
a very bad way to cover up that I keep saying Drizella.
That's awesome.
It's even in my notes. Maybe you should just assume whenever I say Drizella, I actually mean Jacinda.
I think that could get really messy.
Yeah. But speaking of messy, Aaron, what do you think of this episode?
Wait a minute. Did you just insult Aaron?
No, I insulted the episode.
Oh, okay.
Actually, okay, let me take that back.
Do you want to just restate your phrase?
Last episode was messy. This episode, not so messy.
Last episode
So
was
I can't really say,
messy?
speaking of messy, what did you think of this episode?
Oh.
Because last episode, remember, was the one when we discovered that it was Wish Hook all this time.
Wish it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Which,
yes.
by the way, the fans that have emailed us, like Patty, Melanie, Keeper of Squid Ink, Amy from Los Angeles, and
That's amazing.
others have all been basically voicing the same thing, is it's hard to get on board with this new series. The spinoff, otherwise known as Season 7, is taking them in directions that they don't really want to go, in directions they didn't expect, in like not positive ways.
They don't want to go, are the fans?
Yeah, the fans, or at least several of them who have contacted us. Now, some of them, though, like Keeper of Squid Ink said that she basically still watches the show because she wants to listen to the podcast. And Keeper of Squid Ink, by the way, she couldn't understand all our jokes about Squid Ink. So she went back several seasons to listen to the podcast to understand.
That's awesome. Yeah, I never wanted to hear Squid Ink again, but it was very fun that every time Squid Ink came up, I got sympathetic tweets trying to soothe my nerves.
It's Jeremy's own hashtag. But, Aaron, what did you think of this episode?
I don't know that Jeremy and I are going to be polar opposites. We might
Probably
be on
not.
the same extreme side, but I didn't hate it. I loved some things about it. I think that I am maybe expecting more now because the show's been given this like huge opportunity to basically start from scratch. Like they're making things up as they go along, clearly, making it work. And they just seem to be recycling storylines that I'm kind of like tired of hearing. Like they're doing it with Lady Tremaine and the raising from the dead, and they're doing it with I can't think of another example with like Lucy and Henry, and it's just all the same stuff. And it just seems like they're kind of trying to fast track it. They're giving us a lot more information, I think, than they did in season 1 of Once Proper. And so, like, yeah, the episode was okay. I didn't not enjoy it. I wasn't screaming at my TV or super emotional, or it wasn't invoking that in me either. And then I literally started thinking of the shows that I've watched that have gone 7 seasons. And I'm like, did season 7 suck on any of these shows? Is it just because it's pretty common that season 3 is a little bit annoying? Like that just seems to be a pattern. But no, it didn't suck in any of my other shows. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. But there are things that were revealed that I am looking forward to seeing the storyline play out of. So I might have just contradicted I might be both extremes, actually.
That's awesome.
And then Jeremy, throwing it back to you, what did you think?
Well, I'm enjoying listening to Erin have this conversation with herself about whether she liked it or not. No.
So Aaron is Drizella and Jacinda.
Yes.
Yes.
And not a mess at all.
When she talks about raising the price on herself just outside of her paycheck, then we'll know it's true.
Wow. I liked it. I just did. So I don't know if I'm an extreme. I didn't. Yeah, there were moments that were like, but so, and this is a bad scale to rate an episode on of a show that you enjoy and do a podcast about, but we got to the end, and at no time that I can think of during the episode did I go, oh, come on, or realize I needed to furiously jot down a note because I needed to start a rant or object to something. It was a pretty clean storyline.
Yeah, I will give it that for sure.
I wasn't confused. There was even a little bit of timeline tie-in in the flashbacks, namely the moment when Henry shows up with Regina and Wishhook. We know what they've been doing from the last episode. We know what was happening parallel to what we were watching Cinderella do in the past. So they may not have named the exact time, but there was tie-in. It kind of dovetailed. It was like it was planned. You know?
Imagine that.
Yeah, so overall, I thought it was pretty good.
That is all true. Everything Jeremy just said.
And honestly, I thought the characters are starting to gel a little bit. They weren't, at first, working super well for me.
And speaking of characters, one of those characters that seemed like just a side character until this episode, and I like it when they surprise us like that, Tiana.
Okay, yeah, that I need to put on. I am wearing a hat, but I need to switch it out for my dunce cap. I was wondering just before this episode who Jacinda's roommate was in the another realm, and then I now, of course, realized we already had seen her.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that either. Yeah, same thing. She was the one who said no to the frog legs.
Yeah,
at
and
the
people
ball.
were going, "Oh, Tiana," and I was like, "Yeah, okay, come on, calm down, you spoiled people. Let's just hold off on that." But I didn't realize we'd seen her more than just that one moment.
Well, I think Jenny, even when we were watching it, she said, "Oh, that must be Tiana," because she's caught the frog legs, and she's
yeah,
like,
I suppose
"Oh,
that wasn't terribly subtle, but
frog princess." Yeah, it makes sense that she wouldn't want to eat the frog legs.
except that I never saw that movie, so.
It's one of Disney's weirdest ones, in case you're wondering.
Yeah. I've only seen it once, and I don't plan on watching it again. So,
Well, now you don't have to.
yeah.
We've got this, Tiana.
So, if I understand this correctly, she's the leader of the resistance, that their purpose is to overthrow both the royal family and Lady Tremaine. Is that correct?
Well,
Did I
that's
get
what she
that right?
said. I don't know. There are weak points, I guess I would say, in the plot so far. They're not so much contradictions, because there's nothing in the past of these realms to contradict with, and they're not contradictions, but they are weak. It's like, okay, overthrow her from what?
Well, I think it's basically Tiana is this world's Snow White in a way that, like, she's wanting to overthrow. Let me say that one again. In that she's wanting to overthrow this evil ruler. Although how much influence Lady Tremaine has in this realm, clearly she's someone of prominence. But I'm not so sure.
Well, see, I don't know if that is clear.
Well, clear in that they have a really nice, big, fancy house and their own fairy godmother until she murdered her.
Did we see a big fancy house?
Yeah.
Oh.
With a big gate.
Felt like we didn't. Okay.
At first, Tiana's explanation made it sound like the prince and Lady Tremaine were together, like not together, but okay, how do I say that? Can I start that again?
Yeah.
At first, Tiana made it sound like the prince and Lady Tremaine were on the same side, and that maybe perhaps the prince was under her rule somehow. And then to me, that just didn't make sense, because if that was the case, then she would have just said, "Hey, Prince, marry my daughter Gisela," which is clearly what she wanted at the ball, or what we were led to believe she wanted. And then later, they made it sound like the prince was framed for killing the father, but did he really kill the father? Or did Lady Tremaine just make it seem like he did and she really killed him? Like, did she orchestrate it, or did she actually?
Well, they said she planned it, so I assume they were working together.
Well, if she planned it, maybe one way she planned it is that she got the prince to do the killing, and then she's wanting to tie up loose ends by then killing off the prince so that it can't get tied back to her. Because then here's Cinderella, who kills the prince, and Cinderella's motivation seems clear, and none of this then connects it back to Lady Tremaine. This is how it goes in the crime world. You know, you shoot the guy who shoots the guy who shoots the guy who shoots the guy. It's like telephone, but with guns.
No, oh, goodness.
Or magic wands in this case.
But wait, did we see the prince in current day today?
No. I thought maybe that was Michael, the commissioner.
Okay,
but
that's what I was
no,
thinking.
it's not him.
It's not.
He
Okay.
real dead, you guys. Like, that's not happening.
Oh yeah, sorry. I literally just forgot major plot points from like 2 episodes ago.
That's awesome.
You know what? I forgot that too.
How do you forget a thing like it was so stabby? You can't forget
That's
that.
true. I'm back to watching the episodes twice, so I have no excuse for having forgotten that.
That's awesome.
But it's Tiana being there means we can't go with this new ship of Wishhook and Regina, because Tiana and Hook seem to have a thing for
wasn't
each
that
other.
a cozy little scene? They were all arranged. It was like the 2 couples with their matron at the center.
I just loved his comment. My hook's sharp. I'm ready to go.
I know. There were some good lines in this. I need a moment.
Okay.
While we've been talking, I've been copying my notes into our notes. And
In the wrong places, I'm seeing in some
what do you
cases.
mean?
Research guy has nothing to do with Tiana.
Oh, that's true, actually.
See, I don't know where they are. I can't keep track. I'm serious. I can't keep track.
I need a little technical difficulty screen to just like pop up, and
I've
when we
got-
start getting angry and then...
See, I've got
sure
all
the
kinds of
live
stuff
listeners
under
are
the...
enjoying this.
I've got a lot under the Anastasia section, too, that I think could go somewhere else, because in my head, there was like a flashback story and a Hyperion Heights story.
Well, since it's all thematic, it's okay if stuff crosses over.
I know.
If you
I'm
feel
just
it belongs in
not
a certain area, that's okay.
I'm not going to remember what I wanted to talk about until we get to
all
the
about
wrong
it.
scene. And then I'm going to be like, oh, back on the other thing. I wanted to... A couple of them are pretty clear because it took a twist at the end. But okay, just let me look over this real quick. Where did I put research guy? Yeah, that is not where I meant to put that at all. In fact, yeah, those are the ones that are confusing me, because I don't see any separation between Tiana's story and the Anastasia story, or Henry's heart. Like I don't see any. I have things to say about those stories. I just don't see any separation in my mind. That's all right, though, I guess. Depending on what order we go in. Because everything about Henry's heart was very related to Anastasia.
True. But also to present day.
Yeah, that too.
Because Henry, his heart is in him, and
his heart is in him.
In present day.
I will move then Anastasia right next to Henry.
Man, she's been moved around a lot.
Yeah. That's what happens when you live in a box.
Or die in a box.
I totally have
what?
a Tiana point that we can use to jump back in.
Is it on her tiara? Tiana's
No.
tiara?
No.
The tip of Tiana's tiara?
All right, thank you.
Okay.
I feel better now.
Aaron, say your point.
I'm curious to know what you guys thought of Tiana's reaction to finding out Regina had magic, because at first it seemed like she was not cool with it when they were alluding to it. And then when she flat out asked her, like, do you have magic? You can help us defeat Lady Tremaine. She seemed very positive about the idea.
Here's what I'm going to say about that scene. Somebody dropped the ball in the area of the director during that scene. Like, nobody was watching Tiana at all. Like, her facial expressions were totally wrong, I felt, while everybody else was talking. And then the moment she opened her mouth, she was fine. It was like nobody gave her the right motivation. Because she's like looking super skeptical, like she's about to say, no, you're the evil queen. And I don't know. I was nervous, and then all of a sudden she's just like, "You can help us."
I was expecting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was expecting the evil queen comment too.
But it's another realm.
But yeah, and apparently in this another realm, which in many, we can just call it the New Enchanted Forest or the NEF if we want. That's what many people, most of the fans are calling it actually, is the New Enchanted Forest. But in the New Enchanted Forest, it seems like Regina is not known at all. No. Henry, not known. Emma, maybe even. Have they even referred to the Savior at all from this realm?
No.
Mm-mm.
So this is like not only alternate reality Enchanted Forest, but it's alternate fairy tale existence, like a parallel universe of separate galaxies. It's not simply another realm that you get to from the Enchanted Forest.
But Lady Tremaine found out who Henry was and knows his story now.
Oh, because she did a little digging.
Oh.
That was one of the weak points. And I was just like, well, where did you dig? I'm going to need more.
She dug in a flower bed
known...
somewhere and discovered it.
He was known as the heart of the truest believer in Neverland, wasn't he?
Yeah. But then that was Peter Pan, who appeared to be able to see and know all things.
I'm hoping that Tremaine has a really interesting backstory that includes realm jumping of some kind, because she knows people she shouldn't. She knows things she shouldn't. And okay, wait. This is a pretty safe prediction. It's Once Upon a Time. She's way older than she looks.
Probably.
She's probably hundreds of years old.
Could be.
Through one way or another.
And we do have some really good theories on who she might be at the end of this episode. We'll save those
I'll be the
for
judge
near
of
the
whether
end.
they're good theories.
But speaking of backstory, do you think there's anything to Jeremiah?
My backstory?
Not Jeremy, but Jeremiah.
I know, it's not even short for Jeremiah. I don't even know.
By the way, if being the truest believer of the cause doesn't work out so well for him,
dude?
Yeah, he could go into a great career of voiceover work.
Because he didn't say anything?
No, the little bit that he said, he has a nice set of pipes, as they say in the industry.
Okay.
He could do some voiceover work really nicely.
He's the cobbler, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I was wondering if he was significant, just because they did the tie back at the end, but before that, I was wondering if he was significant. So we may find that we never see him again, and it was just because she was going to take his heart instead. But I did look up, there is a fairy tale called The Elves and the Shoemaker, which is just about a guy who needed money and he started making shoes, and then the elves helped him, basically. But it doesn't seem like it's a very significant tale.
So it's a fairy tale about entrepreneurship?
It's kind of reminds me of Rumpelstiltskin, actually, when the princess kind of made Rumpelstiltskin spin the straw into gold for her because she wasn't able to do it, or made a deal. Because that's kind of what happened in this, is the elves were actually the people making the shoes, not him. And then he was selling it and getting more money so that he could pay his bills and then make more shoes and keep selling them. Who knows?
Yeah, probably none of that will be pulled in, unless it's one of those things that they just thought, hey, let's pull in Jack Sprat kind of level of detail.
Yeah. And clearly the clothes horse doesn't make boots, so she needed to find boots somewhere, and so he's a cobbler.
Well, the clothes horse is apparently only in Wonderland.
That's true.
Oh, it's the gas horse in this land.
Except that could be what Alice rides from realm to realm.
That's true. She is often very elegantly dressed.
She is.
Lady Tremaine, the opposite of elegance. Well, I mean, she's elegant in her own evil way.
She's elegant on the outside and elegantly evil on the inside.
She's
something like that.
So a couple things we learned about her in this episode. One is that she's been accruing magical items. So she doesn't have magic herself, but it seems like she's been going on this campaign to get a bunch of them. And the fairy godmother's wand was yet one of those things. And I'm kind of hoping that, okay, for the sake of story, again, remember that whole little rant I went on, or the introduction to my rant last time? For the sake of story, I like it when a villain is a villain. They're not simply misguided or, I'm doing all of this just to save my daughter, just to save my son, something like that.
Right.
And I kind of get the feeling that that's the case with Lady Tremaine, is that she seems so villainous by digging up the community garden and other things that she's simply misunderstood. All she's doing is she just wants to get her daughter back.
Well, so I'm kind of torn there, because I would say some of their villains have been just misunderstood or misguided, but I think it would be pretty safe to say Regina was the evil queen. She had a tragedy. She didn't handle it very well, to say the least, and she went full out evil queen. And Lady Tremaine is pretty much that. I don't know if her atrocities are quite on evil queen level, but she's trying to destroy a little girl's life to save her daughter, which, clearly she's at least misguided, but it's pretty evil.
And Lady Tremaine seems to blame Cinderella for whatever happened, which we'll learn at some point, whatever happened to Frederick. I mean, whatever happened to the sister. I'm not going to even try to say. Yes, Anastasia. That's right. It wasn't one of the Zinzas.
And no, it's not Anastasia from Once Upon a Time in Wonderland because she died when she was 14.
Right.
Even though...
But are you getting any deja vu about trying to raise an Anastasia who was a stepsister to Cinderella from the dead? Because that happened in Once Wonderland.
They literally believe that nobody watched that, and it's kind of ticking me off. It's like, no, we actually did. Your most loyal fans who are still around for season 7 watched that show.
Well, do remember, talking about the Anastasia from Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, we never actually knew that she was Lady Tremaine's stepdaughter, right? We only knew that she had some sisters, but...
It's the threads of plot. It's having Alice around. It's having an Anastasia. It's trying to raise an Anastasia, although notice that she still has one breath left in her. So she didn't quite die. So they can get around the having to break the rules of magic thing. Yes, they're bringing her back, but she's only mostly dead.
Yeah. They've been waking her up every Christmas for several years to celebrate Christmas with her. Until now, she has only one breath left.
Oh my gosh, that's really obscure.
Hashtag Doctor Who.
Yeah, maybe one of my favorite episodes. Definitely my favorite Christmas special.
This is one of those storylines that I just felt like we've kind of been there, done that. Like, first of all, the whole grown woman blaming child for tragedy. It's is Cinderella going to have to say, I was 10 at some point, running at her in a fury?
Well, but she does blame herself. At least she has been.
Yeah, I'm sure she does, but people blame themselves when they're kids for things that aren't actually their fault.
Right.
And then the whole bringing someone back from the dead, and like Regina brought Daniel with her for the first curse and tried to raise him from the dead. And then
I forgot about that.
Once Wonderland had the whole raising from the dead, like that, they've just kind of been there, done that. Plus, they're breaking rules that they established in season 1.
But
that you can't raise people from the mostly dead.
Yeah, but she's mostly dead. So what's going to happen is that she will be saved from this certain death, and then the Fury comes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, sorry. We're still supposed to forget about that.
Yeah, nobody watched that season. I'm just kidding. So, yeah. Well, okay. So I thought it was a pretty cool twist. I liked the scene. I particularly liked the scene when Cinderella got to Lady Tremaine's. I guess I was thinking castle. Maybe is that the nice house that you're talking about?
It was a little bit hard to tell, but it's definitely some kind of nice estate because the house was very far away from the gate, and the gate was a nice fancy gate.
Yeah, that's why when I build a house, no matter how big or small it is, I'm going to build it very, very far from the road so that it looks like a very nice estate. But I thought it was a cool twist to have there be actually a reason that Lady Tremaine wants revenge on Cinderella. She's not just this horrible woman. Not only, she is a horrible woman, but she's not only a horrible woman. But here's the thing. I liked the intrigue of Cinderella saying unexpectedly, after what, or will I ever have paid enough for what I did? And you go, oh, what did you do? But they sort of gave it away in the same episode by saying that she was, quote, responsible for Anastasia's death. But also, the thing is, the last time we heard someone saying over and over, what I did, I think it was Jasmine, wasn't it? Or do they actually do this a lot and I'm thinking of someone else?
I think they've used it a few times.
And it ended up, I know that at least once they've built it up. I think this was Jasmine's story. They made it sound like, oh, after what I did. And then you're like, really? That's what you did? What's the big deal? Like, you actually did the right thing.
They did that with Emma, too, with the whole greatest potential for darkness. And then she had to kill Cruella to save Henry.
True, but that wasn't a mystery. We knew what the words "what I did" meant.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Well, in this case, we'll certainly find out, because this is the kind of story they have to tell us. of what actually happened.
Right.
And how is Cinderella responsible? And I think part of that, like you're saying, is discovering, did Cinderella actually do something? Is she actually responsible? Or is she blaming herself?
I'll bet it'll turn out Lady Tremaine reacted to something and tried to kill somebody and ended up killing Anastasia. And it was, yes, she was angry because of Cinderella, but she's probably still the one who did it.
So she aimed at Cinderella, and Cinderella did one of her ducks like she did when the guy with the sword was after her. And then Lady Tremaine hit Anastasia somehow.
That sounds really violent and gross. So I'm
Or
going to
it's
hope not.
just a situation of something happened and Cinderella felt like she should have saved her and couldn't because she was a child or something.
Anastasia was probably on a runaway horse and Cinderella chickened out and didn't go rescue her.
Yes, exactly. Jumping with the same character to Victoria Belfry then in Hyperion Heights. Do you think she's awake?
She's definitely awake.
Definitely.
She referred to Cinderella in the last scene as Cinderella.
Oh, that's right.
And she referred to Lucy as Henry's daughter.
Oh.
Yeah.
And there was all the, you're right, actually. All the brought her over, blah, 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 found her.
Yes, it took me till the second watch to like comprehend that. Because
a normal person wouldn't think to look for her mostly dead daughter under a city park. You're right.
That's true also.
It does make me wonder, has all of this stuff about building developments and buying property and things, has this all been just because she wanted to dig under them in order to find the coffin? Is that why she's been trying to redevelop Hyperion Heights so much?
It could be, but I think that points to the possibility that there's something weird about this curse. Like she might be awake, but it's not hers.
Right. And we'll certainly come back to that probably.
Because there's a lot of stuff that's really inconvenient for her, for this being her curse.
Mm-hmm. And she does seem to have this MO of taking people's homes away from them and taking them away from their homes, because it seemed like that's what she threatened to do back in the New Enchanted Forest, and that's certainly what she's wanting to do here in Hyperion Heights.
She's trying to give them cages instead.
Yes. It all comes back around to season 1. Remember, you're building a cage, not a home.
A home, not a cage.
No, I said it the way I meant it.
So her condos should just be called The Cage.
Yes. Belfry's Cage.
I love that Belfry has a belfry.
Yeah.
There's an old bat in it. Wait, what?
Yeah, well, we'll discuss who that old bat is.
Not really.
But
she's actually kind of interesting.
Talking about all the building stuff, the building commissioner, Michael, on the little form that Hook printed out, since in TV they have to print everything out. Although Victoria had a tablet.
Is it normal that I kind of want to hit that dude in the face? Like, that's not a normal reaction for me, but I just now realized when you mentioned him that I really want to hit him.
I think it's just his face looks like it's a little too smug of a face. But
he did have one of the better lines in this episode, though.
ABC was smart about something. So on that page that printed out, everything on that page seems totally legit, even though it was only on the screen for a second. That little bio page that Hook printed out.
Yeah.
And it was from the website HyperionHeightsBuildingCommission.com.
Oh.
And I thought, I wonder if there's anything actually there. So there wasn't. And then I thought, I'll squat the domain and point it to oncepodcast.com, as you do. But good job, ABC. They registered the domain back in July this year.
Oh.
It doesn't go anywhere, but it is registered to ABC.
How sad that doesn't go anywhere.
So there go your hopes of creating a new website over at HyperionHeightsBuildingCommission.com.
I just wish they had done it.
That would have been fun. Yeah.
They made the 3 fake web pages that she showed to Jacinda.
Right.
One other thing about Victoria is her MO really is about getting Anastasia back from the dead, or back from the almost dead, saving her from a certain death.
Her motivation, you mean?
Yeah. Or whatever people like to pretend MO stands for. It seems
very-
like this curse, I think she's involved in casting this curse. If not the one who did it, she was somehow a partner in it. And we'll dig more into that in a moment.
Now
But
that is MO, because that's what she does. She borrows magic. She doesn't really have it.
yeah. And I think that the whole purpose of this curse was really to bring Henry so that she could take Henry's heart. But then again, in the tower, it seems like more her purpose is to get Lucy to destroy everything she believes in. But at the same time, it seems like
Yeah. So they're
Yeah.
already shifting the rules on that a little bit, because all of a sudden now they don't need a heart. In the same episode, now they don't need a heart. They just somehow have to get Lucy to give up her belief.
Well, I do like, speaking of the heart, I do like that they reinforced back from season 3 that Henry's heart is protected.
Right.
And although he has the heart of the truest believer, it can't be taken. And that means that Regina in the New Enchanted Forest did something to also protect Lucy's heart, because they reference that Lucy's heart is still protected.
Right. Now I don't know how they knew that.
It's something that happened in the New Enchanted Forest.
Yeah.
So wait, remind me, had Regina put that spell on Henry so his heart was protected?
Yeah, back in season 3.
Okay, because Emma's heart is also protected. It could just be genetic.
Well, Emma was special.
magic.
Henry was different special because his heart actually did get taken. But then they just did the protection to make sure it couldn't happen again.
Right.
Which, if that was a thing that was as rampant a problem as it was for those people, and I had the ability to put that protection on permanently, I think I'd just sort of do that to everybody that I cared about.
Hyperion Heights HeartProtectionService.com. That's Jeremy's new website.
If Lady Tremaine now in present day knows that Henry's heart is protected, I believe that might indicate that she at some point tried to take it.
Mhm.
I know. She's a creep.
Foreshadowing in the future.
Foreshadowing in the future. Yeah. If Ella then, though, had tried to take Henry's heart, it wouldn't have worked.
Right.
And
If they were
speaking of
consistent.
that was a standout thing to me. They didn't over-explain. They didn't once-splain, to borrow modern phraseology. Tremaine enchanted her glove or her hand or whatever, but they never said why. And then Regina undid it, and people who've been watching knew what that was about, but they didn't,
Yeah,
go crazy with it.
that's true. That did show nice respect of the audience.
Yeah, I loved that.
And speaking of, no, I'm not going to make
There's
this.
going to be a deleted scene that over explains.
Right.
Yeah. There.
One thing
Now
I
your
wanna
glove is
say-
enchanted, so it can take a heart, but only one heart, and use it on Henry.
Whatever you do, don't whisper Cora.
One thing I wanted to add about Lady Tremaine, just while we're talking about her and the curse and her involvement, and whether she just wanted revenge or like whether she really just wants her daughter back, is like, I think even with Rumpelstiltskin, he orchestrated the whole curse to find Bay. And then even after we found Bay, he's still evil. Like evil had still like seduced him to be evil. And so I think that once you're getting power from taking advantage of people and buying people out and having a lot of money, I think that it's, even if she gets Anastasia back, I don't think that's going to.
And we lost Erin.
Aw.
Erin warned us that this would happen, but she's probably still talking.
We were wrong about which way it would go. She's the one who might not know right away that it happened. Oh crap. While we're in this unplanned pause, what streets did they say the cemetery was supposed to be on? Like, where was the lot that Henry found that he thought was supposed to be the cemetery in the first episode?
I don't remember. I think it was somewhere in Seattle that he was visiting, and this cemetery was in Hyperion Heights. I think it was a completely different place. Aaron, are you there? Aaron? Can't hear you, Aaron.
Oh, Owen! Are you there? Owen. Bats in your belfry, ding, ding, ding.
Bells in your bat free. Ding-a-ling-a-ling.
If things had been different, how perfect would the actress who played Anastasia in Once Wonderland have been as Victoria Belfry's daughter? Like, think about how they talk and just how they look.
Yeah, but the ages wouldn't match up. 14 years old.
I present to you the Charmings and Emma and Henry.
So maybe it would be Anastasia from the new Wonderland, who is actually 14 somehow, because time works differently.
I said if things had been different. Like, yeah. I heard a little noise.
Aaron.
Aaron. New maple syrup.
Aaron, our Canadian host. Hey, we hear you now.
Sorry. We had to reset the internet.
Okay.
We thought maybe you
I
got pulled
finished
to a
my
fictional
thought before
Canada.
I knew that the internet was.
Well, at least you finished your thought. So, and that was recorded on your side. Can you remind us what the thought was?
Yes. I stopped my recording. Should I start it again?
Oh, if you stopped your recording, then
We'll have to clap.
Sorry.
yeah, never stop the recording unless you have to restart your computer.
Okay.
Go ahead and start again and clap when you're ready.
Oh no! Now it's recording at the same time. Should I upload this audio? Like, should I?
What?
should I do?
Oh, okay. Stop the recording.
Yep.
And John, right here, we're doing a resync point. Well, I'll tell John that in the chat too. Triple mark is a resync point with Aaron's audio.
Because fictional Canada tried to take over. Or
Okay.
New Maple Syrup Land, as Manic said.
So stop the recording, delete that track that showed up in Audacity, the one that just started when you
Yep, I
started
did.
the recording.
I deleted that one.
Okay. Hold down function and press the right arrow. So you should jump to the end of the timeline.
Ooh. Okay. Yep.
And now hold down shift and press the record button.
Ooh, this is. Ooh. Okay. Cool.
And now you
can
have
see.
diamonds.
Wow.
Up, down, left, right, left, right.
That
And
was
now I'm
amazing.
gonna clap.
Yes,
Okay. Are we all clapping at the same time?
only you.
Okay.
You're the one who
Bum,
claps.
bum, 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 bum,
Okay,
bum.
so
You said only you. That was the start of only you.
oh,
That was some
didn't sound
true
like
Audacity wizardry right there.
it. Oh, thank you. The audacitypodcast.com. So, I'm sorry. Remind me again.
Remind you what I
What
was
was your thought that you finished sharing?
I was talking about how even if Lady Tremaine only claims she only wants to get Anastasia back, that power is seductive, and that even Rumpel did that, and once he found Bay, it was still never enough.
Okay, yeah. Then I'm going to build on that, and here I go, building on that. So it kind of makes me wonder if they do resurrect, save from her final last breath or whatever they need to do with Anastasia. What's next for Lady Tremaine / Victoria Belfry?
Yeah, then she's got Anastasia back to be Mother of the Year too. Cool.
Yeah. Because like with Rumple, well,
She gets a new assistant.
with Rumple at the end of season 1, a lot of stuff happened. The main thing of season 1 was breaking the curse at the end of season 1, and then we moved on from there. I feel like this curse in Hyperion Heights is not going to go on for the entire season. They're probably going to break it early, and it's probably going to be very similar to our latest episode of Once Upon. And it's right, let me do this again. And it's probably going to be very similar to this.
I thought it would take weeks and weeks of battles and twists and turns, and there you go doing it day 1.
Maybe not day 1, but I do anticipate that this curse will probably be broken very quickly.
Interesting.
And that will allow the story to move on to better things so that we're not so much season 1 all over again, which already there are so many things that are season 1 remixed, rebooted, installed in a new operating system called Hyperion Heights 2.0.
The mines.
Yeah.
Basically.
And now we get this. So I'm really certain, well, I'd like to think that because the writers are smart, they're talented, that they're probably reusing many of these elements, and then they're going to take a big sharp turn very soon so that this curse would be broken.
Do you think it's going to be broken before the mid-season finale?
The mid-season finale might be the breaking of the curse. And then the repercussions of that.
I don't know. I don't know what I think about that. It's possible.
Oh, that sounded like you hung up.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't.
I heard a da-da-da. Okay.
Alternate Aaron hung up.
Yeah,
She was getting freaked
The one
out.
who's in fictional Canada.
Okay. And speaking of taking a sudden turn, if you've had plans for what you're doing on November 3rd through the 5th, I think you need to take a sudden turn and go a different direction. And that is to Burbank, California, to Creation Entertainment's Once Upon a Time convention. Creation Entertainment is our sponsor of this episode. We're very happy to have them. They just finished the Whippany, New Jersey convention, and we haven't received any photos yet, but we're recording this, I think, the day after the Whippany, New Jersey convention. So I know some of our listeners were at there, hashtag OUATNJ. And we'd love to see some of the photos from there. Maybe you got some voice calls or voice recordings or anything like that. Please send those to us. We have our contact information and a way that you can upload files over at oncepodcast.com/contact. And we'd love for you to check out creationent.com to register for the upcoming Once Upon a Time convention in Burbank, California. So these Once Upon a Time conventions are a whole lot of fun. You don't have to try and camp out overnight hoping maybe you'll make it into one of the rooms that you thought you might have access to. No. When you buy a ticket from a Creation Entertainment convention, you get access to everything you paid for. You are guaranteed a seat for the sessions, for the events that you signed up for. So for this upcoming event in Burbank, California, here are the cast members and characters who will be there. Lana Parrilla, who plays Regina. Jennifer Morrison. Hey, if you missed Jennifer and you want to congratulate Emma on her upcoming baby, even though it's not Jennifer Morrison's baby, then you can go see Jennifer Morrison there. Also, Rebecca Mader, who's Zelina. Colin O'Donoghue will be there, who is Captain Killian Hook Jones. Emily DeRavin, who plays Belle, will be there. Lee Ehrenberg, known as Leroy and Grumpy. Gil McKinney, that's Prince Eric. Beverly Elliott, who is Granny. Chris Gothier, who plays Smee. Michael Coleman, who plays Happy. And Raphael Sabarge, who plays Jiminy Cricket, will all be there at the Burbank, California event. That's November 3rd through the 5th. We'd love for you to go and send us some photos. That's this coming weekend it's coming very soon. So make sure you make your plans to attend if you haven't already made those plans yet. And send us your feedback. Tell us your highlights. Tell us what you loved seeing. Send us your photos, your funny sound clips or videos or anything like that. Let us know how wonderful it was an event to go to, because we're planning to go to the one in Chicago. I'm not sure how many of our staff will be able to be there, but in Chicago in 2018, we will be at the Once Upon a Time convention, and we hope you will too. Join one of these. Next one is November 3rd through the 5th in Burbank, California. Go to creationent.com to learn more information, register, and sign up and plan to be there. That's creationent.com. And thank you, Creation Entertainment, for your support of this episode of Once Podcast.
They're actually hosted in fictional versions of these cities. So they take place in the 40s, and people travel by magic bean.
And speaking of magic beans and growing things, the community gardens, or maybe what we should otherwise know now as Hyperion Depths.
Nope.
You like that?
No.
Caves underneath the Hyperion Heights. I like it. I'm probably going to use it, but I don't know how much.
It's not about what's under the gardens.
Okay, true. But what is under the gardens are these mines very similar to season 1, which maybe we'll never see again.
How did Belfry get the coffin out of there? Lucy was literally the first person down that hole, and she never found the coffin. And then suddenly that's where they took it from.
My guess is that while this is happening, remember, she's doing this excavation and rebuilding and condo development all over town. And my theory is the reason she's doing that is she's been looking for this coffin. Now, why? That's a different issue. But so while this is happening at the community gardens, somewhere on the other side of town, meanwhile, on the other side of town, they've been doing their digging, building some other condo over there, and they find the coffin there and they bring it to her.
Oh, maybe.
Or maybe they find the coffin after Lucy and Henry come up from the Hyperion Depths.
But this is one neighborhood. She only has influence in Hyperion Heights.
True.
I don't
know
think
how
they
big it's
went
supposed to
every
be.
direction they could have, right? Wasn't there a fork in the road?
Oh, were there forking paths under the garden?
I think there were. And clearly Lucy went the wrong way.
Well, then Lucy, I mean, that shard of shoe was not even all that convincing. So I think Lucy really missed the boat on that one.
Lucy is reminding me so much of Henry in the sense of she doesn't really care what's going to happen to her. She just jumped in there. She didn't know how deep that hole was. She could have fallen to her death.
I think she could see the bottom. Once she jumped, you could see the bottom.
So it's
He has an answer for everything. The tunnel might cave in. No, it's been around this long.
Yeah.
Which is a very good point.
Right, Lucy. It's been around without a big hole punched in the top by bulldozers that are now sitting on top of it.
There are some flaws to her logic.
Wouldn't that be great? It just caved, and it wouldn't be great, but wouldn't it be amazing if it just caved in and Henry and Lucy are gone?
And then Cinderella's glass slipper would be lost forever.
Yeah. Well, at least they mentioned that this was basically the same thing happening again.
Yeah.
I had to go back and look. That was actually episode 5 of season 1, not episode 3. I thought maybe they were doing some parallel plot points, but they did not.
I really feel like this piece of the glass slipper will come back in the future because it's kind of like that proverbial handgun that the camera focuses on, as they say in some story writing.
Oh, because of that so subtle foreshadowing with it?
Well,
The hero keeps the glass slipper so that he can always find his true love, even if he thinks she's gone forever. Wink, wink.
Well,
yeah, and then he finds the true love that he thinks he remembers.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But
Maybe Belfry planted the slipper there, and it put a spell on Henry.
No.
Well, I think that broken piece. I think that broken piece of glass has some kind of spell on it that's prevented people from losing their fingers and blood coming out of pockets from this shard of glass being stored in a pocket.
It's pretty high quality glass, it gets those smooth breaks.
Yeah, true. Because you have to be able to walk on it. Anyway.
Exactly.
But I think that the rest of that slipper is probably somewhere. Probably in some kind of vault, maybe in the Hyperion Heights cemetery. Which it did seem like there was a vault somewhere in there. But
No, because the vault's been replaced by a belfry.
And there's no more blood magic, just fingerprint technology.
yeah, that's true.
That's so funny. That's true. Like, forget those blood magic stuff. I've got technology from the land without magic.
But it is nice that they have this city code or a copy of it inside of Ronnie's.
See above. Remember when I said there were some things that were pretty inconvenient for Victoria in this curse? So Ronnie has to know a lot. I'm like, how long have you been there? A month? Why did the curse build in personalities and backgrounds that are so intelligent? Shouldn't cursed people be kind of stupid and shallow? Wouldn't that be a better curse? Why does Ronnie have all this knowledge and all these resources? It's kind of funny.
True. For a long time, I drove around with a printed copy of the Kentucky State Driver's Manual in my glove compartment in my car because there's a particular portion of road that was between my house and where I drove to work that there was no speed limit posted. And I would have to pass almost everyone on that road because they were going too slow. And there was no speed limit posted. I wasn't like intentionally speeding, like thinking, oh, no speed limit posted, so it means I can go this. It's because according to Kentucky law that roads of certain types and such, generally, if no speed limit is posted, you should assume there's a certain speed limit. And I had certain justifications for this too. So the reason I carried that was in case I was ever pulled apart by a police officer. And then I could say, no, look here, let me pull this not gun thing out of my glove compartment and show you that, look, according to this, I have full justification to be driving this speed, especially since there's no posted speed limit sign and based on this other criteria. I never was pulled over, but sometimes I think of showing that to some of the other people who are on that road. So all that
I was going to say, were you just going to pass them and throw the book at them literally and let it stick to their window?
Yeah, that would help. But all that to say then that for Ronnie to have a copy of the city code tells me that she kind of is either trying to manipulate things according to the law, or she has it for those moments when she knows she needs to use the law in order to do something.
I know, but Ronnie's not real.
Yeah.
Why does she have this knowledge?
Well, I think any bar owner would have that knowledge.
Not a curse-created bar owner.
Well,
she should just be like, I've been a bar owner as long as anyone can remember, and I serve drinks, and not really sure how I got here.
Well, it's possible that another reason she has it is because, remember, she was going to sell the bar to Victoria.
I know, but...
So maybe she had to get a copy of the local code in order to keep up with knowing what's involved with the sale of a business like this.
We don't know how long they've been cursed.
Right.
Or how long they've been there.
Right.
I would imagine not too long, because it's not as if time is frozen.
Mm-hmm.
So they haven't really aged a lot.
What if, thrown into this, what if it has been only days since the curse was actually cast?
Right. That'd actually be kind of cool.
That's a little crazy, but possible, I guess.
It could happen.
It could happen.
So there's that cemetery, though, in Hyperion Heights. And it kind of makes me wonder what's in Hyperion depths under that cemetery.
So was Henry originally looking for that cemetery?
See, this is what Daniel and I were having a separate conversation about this, because I asked if this was the same location in which he was looking for the cemetery before, because I thought he was looking in Hyperion Heights, and I was like, isn't that a little coincidental? You act like you've never been there before, but you were looking for your family buried in a cemetery there? It didn't seem like he'd left the neighborhood when he was looking for that cemetery.
But not Hook. Hook gave him a copy of all the cemeteries in Seattle, I think, right? So maybe
Right.
he's checking them one at a time, and that just he was wandering by that one, and that's why he checked it.
Oh, yeah. So do you think he intentionally was visiting this one to look? Or was it maybe he was just walking home and saw, oh, cemetery, might as well stop in and see?
Yeah, maybe one or the other.
I thought he was just walking by. He didn't look like he was on any kind of specific mission.
Yeah, but maybe he was walking by and then decided to check and then saw he had maybe just gotten a little jolt of hope, and now he's going to be really bummed out in the next episode, I think.
It is a completely different location from the episode Hyperion Heights when he went looking to leave some flowers on the graves. It is completely different. So if they're trying to say that it's a cemetery that popped up by magic overnight, then I don't think they did a good job. I think it's more reasonable to think, because he never had reason to visit Hyperion Heights. He never said anything about Hyperion Heights. He just knew that it was this neighborhood. But I think now it was more like he's on his way back home, sees a cemetery, thinks, oh, I'll check it out, and then discovers they are buried here. Because he didn't know which gravestone to go to. He didn't go straight to any particular gravestones. He was just browsing, and then he realized it.
Doesn't that make him wonder at all? Like, why don't you know where your wife and daughter are buried?
Yeah.
Kind of weird, right?
That is.
Here's something that it kind of annoyed me about the episode. Maybe just frantic children annoy me a little bit. So Lucy was getting on my nerves. I think it's because we've been through all of this with Henry, and now Henry's going through it with Lucy, and she's just trying so hard to convince him when she even has the knowledge of his book and of how long it took them to convince Emma. And I just think of August, like Emma was in such denial that when he rolled up his pant leg and showed a wooden leg, she saw a normal leg.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like Lucy doesn't quite get that Henry's actually cursed. Emma wasn't even cursed. Henry's actually cursed. And I don't think her being all crazy is going to help him remember.
Yeah. And he even, by the way, I did notice that he literally said that what she was saying was crazy. And she sure didn't react like he did when he was her age.
Well, she's probably not even going to some psychologist either. Unless Henry brings in Dr. Hopper at some point. Here, you need to talk to my friend. But he does have the heart of the truest believer. And maybe she got a little bit of that too. And maybe that's why she believes. Like maybe she was never cursed, or if she was, she awoke from the curse rather quickly.
Well, there again, though, like we were saying before, she's not saying anything that's not in the book. She's not talking about memories of being in another realm.
Mm-hmm.
Which maybe that's irrelevant, but it seems like she might say something personal, like, I remember you being my father, and I have this memory, and I have that memory, and then we had to run from this whatever, and you gave me this book, and that's how it ended up here.
It makes me think of one of my favorite movies as a kid, A Little Princess, when the little girl's dad has had an accident and forgotten her. And when she sees him and he doesn't remember her, she starts listing, like Jeremy just said, all of these personal examples. Like, do you remember India? Do you remember this story? Do you remember this person? And she's frantic about it. Like, that's how I feel Lucy should be if she truly does have true memories other than just faith that that's the truth.
Right.
The names of Henry's family, according to those gravestones, are Lauren and Abigail. Lauren being his wife, Abigail being his daughter. the meanings of their names, according to sheknows.com, is rather interesting if you connect these together. The name of Lauren is Latin, and among things it means from the place of laurel leaves. Could we say from the enchanted forest? I mean, I know it's a little bit of a stretch, but it kind of is interesting there. And then Abigail means the father's joy.
Aw.
So here is something from forest of some sort, and the father's joy. Interesting connection.
But
We've
it's not
seen
the
that.
first time we've seen Abigail as a name in Once Upon a Time either.
Right. Yeah. She married Frederick. Almost had to marry David, though.
Right. Well, supposedly was married to David.
What I'm really wondering, though, and where this episode leaves us with Henry, at least, is so Henry had this moment that looked like he recognized something about Jacinda. I got it right this time.
Good job.
and Lucy. When Jacinda and Lucy were hugging after they had the ice cream, and Lucy gave Henry that piece of the glass slipper, there was a moment that it looked like Henry maybe recognized something about them.
Or he was just like, oh, wouldn't that be nice if it were true?
Yeah, that
Or
could
maybe
be
he was
too.
starting to believe, and then that's where the cemetery came in.
Yeah. And so the cemetery is kind of his dose of reality. So what is going to change now for Henry? Because now he realizes, yes, my wife and daughter are actually buried in a cemetery. Now when he sees Lucy, he's going to be a lot more somber, maybe even disinterested in this whole thing. So something's going to have to change again for him, or for the scenario, something, because he's going to change. I really think that he's changing from this, realizing, no, okay, this was fun, but everything I think I remember is true. And therefore, I need to get back to reality.
It's so sad, though, because if you're not cursed, you understand that this is not normal. You're like, oh, yeah, my memories aren't false. I was kind of forgetting where my family was, but I'm remembering now that I've just stumbled upon them.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably also going to feel a little bit guilty if he is developing any kind of feeling for Jacinda. Once he realizes that his wife, who he loved, is dead. Fakely dead, but he doesn't know that.
Yeah, I could see that. Certainly. And speaking of fakely dead, let's talk about Anastasia in a box.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that was another unintentionally funny moment that was a favorite of mine. In true villain form, Lady Tremaine goes, shall we have a look? And Ella goes, no. I don't want to see what's in there.
She's been there for years, for as long as anyone can remember. Surely she stinketh.
She-
No, she's not Shirley. She's Anastasia.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what we know about Anastasia is she died at 14 years old.
Oh, man. I
What?
just had a realization about Anastasia.
What's that?
They're using superlatives.
Yeah.
Purest of heart.
Yeah. That's the other thing we know about her. Supposedly she has, or had, the purest of hearts.
Oh, it's still in there. One breath.
And her death was somehow Cinderella's fault. And both Lady Tremaine and Cinderella seem to know that.
And Lady Tremaine doesn't want Ella's heart as the thing that's going to bring Anastasia back, so I guess it's not one of the purest of hearts. So burn on Ella.
Not if she killed her sister.
Oh, right. I forgot that even an accident can do that.
Well, here's the other thing about this. We don't know her face because they had it covered. And when they cover someone's face, they want it covered so that there will be some kind of dramatic reveal at some point.
Or because they haven't cast the actor yet.
Well, okay. Let me remind you, season 1, when they went to Wonderland and there was the Queen of Hearts there was an actress playing the Queen of Hearts, had her face covered. And we had said similar things that, oh, maybe they haven't cast her yet or something like that. We didn't know completely yet that was Cora. But at some point through season 1, we did start theorizing that Cora was the Queen of Hearts. And it wasn't until season 2 that we actually got that confirmation. But in season 1, when they filmed that veiled character, they did use Barbara Hershey's voice. Barbara is who plays Cora. They did use her voice.
Baba.
So they knew exactly who they wanted that character to be. This isn't like who is Jeremy Stantham or whatever the name was from Lost.
Oh my gosh.
Jeremy Bentham. Yeah. This is someone important. But when you think about the characters we've seen Drizella, and I do mean Drizella when I say Drizella in this case. We've seen Cinderella. We've seen the crazy lady in the tower.
It's just Ella now.
Yeah. We've seen Tiana. We haven't seen whoever this character is. In Storybrooke or in New Enchanted Forest, or at least we think we haven't seen her yet. But we haven't seen any other prominent female who had any lines whatsoever in New Enchanted Forest other than the fairy godmother, who is dead. So it's...
Well, the conversations we have.
Is a child too, right? Like she's 14.
Yeah. Unless...
Yes. Unless.
But the skin color doesn't match. Unless it was that the Anastasia is actually Lucy, but skin color doesn't match.
That'd be very strange.
Because you can see that under that veil is someone who is very white. Just like Drizella is very white.
I got nothing. I can't think of anybody that matches all the criteria we have who would actually be a shocker of some kind.
Well,
not yet.
Unless we did see her in this episode. What if, and this is crazy territory for a theory.
Yeah, I could there because there's nothing left but crazy.
What if that woman we see in the tower is actually Anastasia?
Nope.
Because we don't see them open the coffin in Hyperion Heights. So there could be anything in there. Jeremy Bentham could be in there for all we know. And
nope.
Maybe this is some crazy convoluted thing that the curse backfired or something like that. Because both whoever that woman in the tower was and Lady Tremaine are interested in restoring Anastasia. And they were both happy that the coffin was found.
The woman in the tower is only one of her magical friends, quote unquote.
Okay.
She's keeping her there uncursed, much like Regina kept one or two people relatively uncursed. And she wants... That's part of her game. Well, I'm back in the camp of... With this theory, I'm back in the camp of the curse being victorious. But just because it makes sense for it to be hers if the one person who can help her with Anastasia has her memories.
Mm-hmm.
And is locked away in a very convenient location. If it's been a while since she visited, how is she eating and doing other things? Just a side note.
Your questions are pointless.
Magic.
Yeah, so I'm not sure it's crazy complicated. I can't think of anything that would really be shocking. But I mean, it was kind of interesting to reveal the woman in the tower, even though we've never seen her before.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It was a dramatic reveal of her face. Like, step into the light so I can see you. And that whole thing. And then we saw her face, and I wasn't a believer.
Oh my gosh.
But I did wonder, okay, they did this dramatic reveal and someone we have no connection with yet. Why a dramatic reveal if there's no connection yet?
We're back on a sort of classic Once Upon a Time forking path.
Nice.
It is either a very interesting thread tying several characters together that we've only seen a small piece of, or very bad dialogue that is just confusing us. Because I say that because I thought there was something in Ella's voice that sounded like she was actually close to Anastasia before she died. There was something sentimental when she realized who was in the coffin.
Yeah, true.
But then the woman in the tower as well seemed a bit. The edge came off of her words when she was saying you found her. And then there was some other connection, apparently, between her getting Anastasia back to life and also being freed.
Mm-hmm.
And also the elusive what that means.
So Anastasia, I think from all of this, regardless of what theory is correct that we just shared, I think one thing we can probably assume is Anastasia is more than simply a daughter. There's something special, extra special about her. I mean, after all, yeah, she has the purest heart.
Maybe she's a seer.
What if she is? That could be interesting.
I don't think so. That seer was not a nice person.
So it could be that she's important to the story in more ways than simply being what the villain wants to go after. I mean, look at like Neil and Rumple. We thought for a while that Rumple simply was after his son, but then we started to theorize back in season 1 that maybe Neil was actually Henry's father. And we and several of the fans ended up being right about that.
You said we didn't know anything about Neil at the time.
No, we knew, well, not Neil by name, but we thought, what if Balefire is somehow Henry's father because of the fireman and certain things? And it wasn't something we pursued all that much because that was season 1 and we didn't have all that reason to think certain things like that. But still, what if there's some kind of connection like that? So my point is that Neil wasn't simply Rumpelstiltskin's son that he was after. Neil was also Henry's father. So more deeply connected. Because connections are the language of Once Upon a Time, how is Anastasia more deeply connected to the storyline? She's got to be somehow connected in other ways than simply being the daughter that Lady Tremaine wants to resurrect. Even though Anastasia does mean resurrection, or one of its meanings.
She's young Emma from another realm.
No, please, no.
Just kidding. She's young Snow from another realm.
I am not finding myself wondering how Anastasia is important to this story as much as I'm wondering who that woman in the tower is. Because I literally messaged Hunter and Jacqueline after a second watch of this episode and said, do you guys know who she is? Like, don't tell me, but do you know? Because I want to know.
They probably do. And
Right
maybe others who listen to the spoilers section do.
And if you're not wondering who she is, you should be. You really should be.
I really liked a lot of the things that she said. One of them, I was going to ask you guys, she said something about like once Anastasia's resurrected, then Belfry's going to have to deal with her.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to figure out if that was bad dialogue or there's just some weird connection.
Or at least she didn't say, and the final battle will begin.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, but she reminded me like of Rumple in more than one way though.
Yeah.
And I liked when she said, the way I see it, we're both shackled in our individual ways. And the question is, who's the actual prisoner to who? And that reminded me of Rumple because he wanted to be in that dungeon. He was exactly where he needed to be. So I wonder if she has the same foresight.
So maybe it's actually the Garden of Forking Paths.
Nice. So this Lady of the Tower, Who is she?
Another dark one
We
from another realm.
Please no. But we got a couple theories, and I'm sharing these together because they're connected in a major way. Slurpees has a great theory, saying Victoria Belfry's username. No, not username. her AOL Instant Messenger name.
Oh, Fingal point.
Rest in peace, AOL Instant Messenger. Victoria Belfry's sermon.
Victoria's Belfry.
Victoria Belfry's surname seems to be a clear indicator that she is connected with a bell tower. Also, her hair is short brown, but with yellow tips, and she said she doesn't wield magic. Yet, she is obsessed with magic and its ability to bring back the dead. All of those things just scream Rapunzel in Tangled, who had magical long blonde hair that could restore life and beauty until it was cut short and turned brown. Victoria Belfry was probably once a young woman who lived...
Well, she probably was.
Wait, let me say that again. Victoria Belfry was probably once a young woman who loved someone like Flynn, not Dan Flynn, our former co-host. Or maybe she did love him. Who knows? And managed to save his life with her last magical tear after her hair had been cut short. Spoiler, by the way. Turning brown and losing her magic in the process. Now, she is a grieving, embittered mother who wishes she could wield life-saving magic like she perhaps once did.
And be a blonde again.
She wants to use magic, however dark. Let me say that again. She wants to use magic, however dark, to restore the life of Anastasia, whose name means resurrection. So Victoria is Rapunzel.
It's an interesting theory, but here's the thing about the hair color. What her hair and everyone's hair, every woman's hair screamed in this episode was that somebody in the ABC hair department has a new trick and was literally practicing it on everybody. I was looking at them in one scene, not including Victoria per se, but Regina and Jacinda. And I mean, well, in those scenes, it was more in the Ella phase. And Tiana, I was like, they all have dark brown hair with light brown highlights. Like very, very, and like similar. Their hair was all very similar. It was kind of hilarious.
Another idea is maybe that the tower lady is Rapunzel. Melanie said, lady locked in a tower reminds me of Rapunzel, although she seemed a little too old to be Rapunzel. She seemed to know what was going on, which is likely why she is locked up. Why lock her up instead of giving her fake memories? Because she's key to resurrecting Anastasia. I think that's why you lock her up, so that she can't get away, so she can be around to save Anastasia. And why not give her fake memories? Because she needs her real memories.
Yeah.
In order to awaken Anastasia.
Of course she does.
Also, another common theory is that maybe she's Mother Gothel from Tangled, which is the mother of Rapunzel. Because there seems to be some kind of tower association here. So if Victoria is Rapunzel, then that lady in the tower could be Victoria's mother, or forced adopted mother sort of thing.
That's too many layers of evil stepmother. Like, they need to stop if that's a thing. Just stop. At the end, like, there's going to be a how it should have ended. If that's the case, Once Upon a Time is definitely getting a how it should have ended, and it's going to be like evil stepmother anonymous meeting, and it's going to be led by Regina. She's helping all these evil stepmothers reform and become good stepmothers.
Whatever the case, whoever's stepmother she is, I think we heard about a witch somewhere in the last couple episodes. I can't remember at this moment what the actual context of that was, but I'm thinking she is probably that witch, because she just has that witch look about her with her crazy hair and the fact that she is somehow some kind of opposition to Victoria, some kind of enemy, some kind of frenemy, maybe, and very much reminds me of the relationship between Regina and Maleficent. You know, why would I kill you? You're my closest friend. that seems to kind of be the thing here. Although Victoria seems to fear whoever this woman is.
I was trying to think of who she was or who she might be, and I was trying to think of like sorceresses from fairy tales that we haven't met yet. And I didn't really come up with anything other than the Rapunzel lady. What is it? Lady
Lady
Mag-
Gothel. Mother
Gothel.
Gothel.
Mother Gothel. And then I just
hate
thought of
that
the
name.
one from Brave who kind of just like uses magic to teach people lessons. And I don't think either one of them are really work for this character.
Well, yeah, and they've already done that too, so please no.
Well, they already did Cinderella.
I
They already did. Yeah,
know.
they already did a bunch of stuff they're doing again. But if it was the witch from Brave, I would have expected at least one hidden bear somewhere in that tower
True.
or carved somewhere.
Am I just too hopeful to think that she's nobody but a new interesting character? I mean, I probably am, right? Like, she's got to be somebody that we've probably heard of in some capacity.
Yeah.
I thought at first that she reminded me of the Jabberwocky, and I don't know if that's just because I really liked the Jabberwocky in Once Wonderland and would like to see her again, but even if that's the case, then they've recasted her. But just some of the dialect and the way she's kind of poking around the
Well-
issue with Belfry.
She reminds me of What's-Her-Face. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. You heard me. No, the original Dark one.
Oh.
Oh,
It's the eyes.
Well, what I'm thinking with the Jabberwocky
out, what's her name?
comment.
You don't remember?
That was Once Upon a Time. We're talking about the spinoff.
The Not Merlin one.
Yes. Yeah. Chat room will let us know in a moment. But here's what I suggest you do. Imagine that lady in the tower.
Nimue.
Yes, thank you.
Before the chat
You're
room, for the record.
Imagine that woman in the tower and imagine her saying this and see if it fits.
Little pig, let me come in.
No one will ever match that person. That was quite the character.
Yeah. So she could be the one who cast the curse. Or it kind of seems like
Well, then she's lousy at it because she locked in a tower.
Well, yeah.
maybe she's exactly where she wanted to be.
She's kind of the bell in the basement, but this time the bell in the tower. Remember
The bell in the belfry.
Yes.
The bell in Belfry's belfry.
Yeah. There's so many elements of season 1 being reused.
And yet not.
I'm going to go to my secret place to uncover the fact that I'm keeping someone locked inside who's kind of insane and has crazy looking hair.
Well, that's what
And
you
I
have
just-
when you're locked
And I
inside
just
of
quoted
this.
what? The spinoff, or did I quote season 1? See, they both are the
You
same.
didn't quote anything.
Well, true. I referenced.
There were men and women and children walking around saying lines. Which season did I just reference?
Season 3.
But we have had the Alice reference,
Mm-hmm.
even though we haven't seen Alice in the last 2 episodes.
Right.
Yeah.
So we do know that they've recasted that role.
Maybe she's Alice's mother.
Maybe.
I mean, I'm just shooting at straws now.
You're
She kind of
shooting
looks
at
like
them?
the girl from the Lord and the I can't even say. She kind of looks like the girl from the Lord of the
The Love of the Rings.
She kind of looks like the girl from the Lord of the Rings. I don't know which character because I've never watched the Lord of the Rings, but the one with the elf ears.
Oh my goodness.
You need
Does
to
she
have an
not look
epic
like her?
movie night.
But don't you think she looks like her?
I don't know who you mean, so I'm not sure.
The one with the really the really white long hair.
Okay, I
and the
thought-
really blue eyes and the elf ears.
Well, no. I don't.
She's someone important. That's the summary of everything we've just theorized about. And speaking of someone important, our heroes are someone important. We don't keep our heroes locked in a tower and give them crazy looking hair and color a little portion of their hair. We don't ask them to raise the dead, but our heroes are still very powerful people, and we could not do our podcast without them. So for this episode, yeah, I didn't have the heroes listed. Over.
The good times are over.
Copy, duplicate. I need to get my assistant to start doing this kind of thing.
Duplicate, 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 duplicate. I'm helping.
Galadriel?
Galadriel, played by
Galadriel.
Kate Blanchett. I don't see the resemblance.
Okay.
Demeanor, yes.
Okay. So for this episode, I want to thank Lisa Slack and our 23 heroes on Patreon. Big thanks. We could not do this podcast. Seriously, we couldn't do it without you. You help keep the podcast running. Thank you very much for your support. If you want to be a hero to the podcast as well, then please go to oncepodcast.com/hero, and you can put us in a little coffin and carry us around with you. And that's
very strange, Daniel.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. Edit that.
This is like on the blooper reel.
Edit that one out. And then you can decide who is the hero to whom. Over at oncepodcast.com/hero. And thank you for your support.
You know who locks us in a tower?
Here's another crazy theory. This is from Lisa. She said, I've been thinking about... Okay. This is from Lisa saying, so here's a theory that I've been thinking about that could help us understand some of the alternate Enchanted Forest timeline issues. What if Lucy is not Henry's biological daughter? What if Cinderella had already had Lucy at this point and she just calls Henry her father once he and Cinderella get together? This would definitely help the timeline issue, and it wouldn't have Regina and Wish Realm Hook in the alternate Enchanted Forest for the next 10 to 12 years, which just seems unlikely considering how easy it seems to be to get portals in and out of there.
Oh my goodness. Is it ever easy?
Well, even if Lucy is not Cinderella's daughter... Wait, how am I wanting to say this? I don't know. This is an interesting twist on things that we think Lucy knows the truth, and we think we know the truth watching this show, but what if it is some kind of twist like this, that all along, Lucy is not who we think she is?
I feel like that's too complicated.
Well, and Jabberwocky 2.0 specifically referred to Lucy as Henry's daughter.
True. Yeah, which then does confirm that. Unless she's the big bad.
She seems rather nice to be the big bad so far in the 35 seconds that we've seen her.
Right. Nice could be relative. The enemy of our enemy.
I'm looking back at notes here. Feedback that I didn't put in places I wanted it yet.
Yeah, I'm having trouble. I'm trying to look at my notes. There are some things that I did want to talk about that we didn't.
Well, we need to wrap this up.
Well, that'll be quick then.
Does it?
I just want to talk about Regina.
Okay.
Oh, I did too. So.
Okay. Well, then just say.
Yep.
Whatever you want to say.
Gazoon-tight.
Thank you. I knew you'd do that. Didn't know what word was going to come out, but I knew it was not going to have anything to do with Once Upon a Time. You're losing your touch, becoming predictable.
Oh, wow. Are you just getting to know me really well?
Yes.
Which you would think after.
So is our audience.
A million
they've been
years.
Listening to us for 6 years. Some of them even longer.
So one person we haven't talked much about is Regina. And not Ronnie Regina, Regina.
Okay.
So I thought she was very interesting. So even now in the so-called spinoff, she's managing to have some of the most interesting moments because of her skill and because of her character's depth. In the other realm, it's sort of a weird, not weird, but it's interesting. It's the first time we've seen her in basically the Enchanted Forest, but not either in her Regina Mills getup or Evil Queen clothes for one reason or another. She's in sort of culture appropriate attire, but it's her. It's not Evil Queen.
Yeah.
So we've never really seen that before. And her position as sort of just the wise matronly figure is really fun to watch, helping LSC kind of gently, but also with some authority, I guess, that you don't want to do this. You don't want to take the heart. She just goes ahead and unenchants the hand.
She's basically being the wise bartender of the new Enchanted Forest.
Wise bartender. Yeah, it's just fun to see what almost looks like flashbacks, but it's the fully character developed Regina that we left last season.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed that as well. I really loved their bonding moments and how she was there, and like you said, it was in like kind of a gentle way. And I think that if she had come in with tough love or come in telling her what to do or making her decision for her, it wouldn't have had the same effect on Ella.
Like the old angry style she used to approach things with, even as she reformed, where she'd be like, "What do you think you're doing? That's my son."
And in Hyperion Heights as Cursed Ronnie, her part that she's playing in this series is really fun. Even just to see Lana Parrilla get to act a different character
Right.
on the show that we've been watching her act in for years now.
Mm-hmm.
And then she gets the nice little fun lines like, "Look at that, I'm a regular queen."
Right. But they went straight to sort of a parallel scene with Ronnie and Jacinda, which the relationship's different, but she was still helping her and giving her advice, and it's cool. It's well done.
Like a mother might to the girl his son is... Like, let me say that again. I'm getting genders mixed up here. Like the mother might give good advice to the girl her son is interested in.
Right.
She can tell.
That Henry's her son?
No, that... We can tell that it's time to end this conversation about this episode. So if you want to continue the conversation, then go over to oncepodcast.com/forums, where you can post all kinds of theories over there. And we've gotten some great theories from some of them, like Slurpee's theory and some other great ones. And the forums are picking up again, like with some more good theories coming out. And with some of this, we haven't seen these kinds of conversations since season 1, which is really neat. Mm-hmm. I personally am still having some trouble connecting with the show since it's so different, and now we know that even fewer of the characters are the ones we know and love. But
so much less frustrating.
But it does open all kinds of new opportunities for us to gaze upon someone whom we thought was dead and rotting, but is actually preserved with one last breath in them. And when I talk about one last breath in them, I think I'm talking about this TV show.
Goodness!
And this is its last hurrah, its last breath.
Wow.
Maybe. But then again, the writers have said they have enough story to go on for another 7 years.
Really?
So we'll see what happens. But regardless of where the show goes, we hope you'll join us for it. Send us your feedback on upcoming episodes. Go to oncepodcast.com/feedback. Now, a little note about that. I didn't know that for the past, since Once Upon a Time in Wonderland and other places, the feedback form on that page has not actually been delivering to us. So if you thought that we never read your theories because we didn't like them, I mean, that could be the case sometimes. But if you thought that we were prejudiced against prejudices, if you thought we were, for some reason, choosing to always omit your theories and not even mention you, well, it turns out that we weren't seeing those theories. There were a bunch of emails in an inbox that weren't actually being delivered to us. So that problem is fixed now. So if you go to oncepodcast.com.
It's only been 4 years. Come on, let's get your feedback.
oncepodcast.com/feedback. Our email address is on there, the phone number, the option to send a voice message, which, by the way, now works on Safari, and it works from an iOS device and Android devices without having to install an app. So you can now send us a voice message from our website straight from the browser on your iOS or Android device. Ooh. And that's all over at oncepodcast.com/feedback. The same page as oncepodcast.com/connect, which I said earlier in this episode. So we'd love to hear from you, your thoughts and theories on the next episode of Once Upon a Time after it airs. You can still join our chat room to watch the show live and chat with other oncers watching it live, and join us for the live podcast on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern at oncepodcast.com/live. Please connect with us on Twitter at oncepodcast, and I'm Daniel J. Lewis on Twitter at the Daniel J. Lewis.
I'm Jeremy Laughlin on Twitter at Phlegon. That's PHLEGON.
Aaron, we can't hear you. Do we really want to go all through all of this just to get her to say her name and Twitter handle? I'm just gonna.
Or we just say that Erin's saving her last breath for later.
Well, if she can hear
she probably
us,
recorded it.
She probably recorded herself saying it. But in case not, John, here's what I'm going to do. In case there isn't a recording. Oh, you want me to
pretend to be Erin? That's fine. I'll do
it. In case Erin didn't record it, depending on if she can. Wait, Erin?
Hey.
Okay.
Hi.
Okay.
We were afraid you only had one breath left and you were being preserved.
I just took it.
Wow.
I did not stop my recording though.
Okay, good.
Did you where did we leave off?
Well, we left off with Jeremy saying his name and Twitter handle. So
yes.
Erin, go ahead.
I'm Erin, and you can follow me on Twitter.
Here. PHLEGON.
I forget how I end without. Can you just do your part, Jeremy?
Yes.
No.
Yes. I'm Jeremy Laughlin, and you can follow me on Twitter at Phlegon. That's PHLEGON.
I'm Erin on Twitter at Erin. This is terrible.
Monday's the new Friday. Yay.
I'm Erin on Twitter at Erin J. Cruz. Okay, that's good enough, right?
I heard you knock on your not wooden desk.
No, I drank. I took a drink of water.
Oh.
Sure.
Well, I was trying to stop laughing.
That'll be good enough, maybe. And this podcast would not be possible without our great team. So thanks to Jack for writing our show notes, John Buchanan for editing our episodes, Hunter Hathaway and Jacqueline for providing our spoilers. You'll hear from them in the next episode of our podcast. And thanks to Jacqueline and Matthew Paul for moderating the forums, Keb for masterminding our timeline, and thanks to my co-hosts Jeremy, Erin, Hunter, and Jacqueline for hosting this podcast with me. And until next time, remember... And until next time, remember, I'm not a hero. I'm just your mother. And thanks for listening. Once Podcast is a proud member of Noodle.mx Network. Find more of our award-winning and award-nominated podcasts to make you think, laugh, and succeed at Noodle.mx. Big thanks to our heroes for supporting this episode of the podcast. If you would like to be a wonderful hero too, then please go to oncepodcast.com/hero, and we promise to visit you in the tower. That's oncepodcast.com/hero, and thank you for your support.
And I'm Aaron, and you can follow me on Twitter at Aaron
punk_bunny_87.
I was just recording one in case you wanted to, use that. Just,
Do we still do bloopers for the Patreons? Because tonight
we
going to be
do,
good.
but I have so many bloopers I need to edit.
Bloop. Well, that was a good one. That was a lot of giggling.
Yeah.
I added a closing line. Did you see that?
I did.
It wouldn't have worked, but I liked it. How about you keep half of that, and I'll finish my banana.
Burn the petition for Lucy.
I like that one too.
Soon you'll be ornery too. Just give it time.
Actually, I like that one too.
We're going to make something wonderful here together.
Too
When
sappy.
When you truly believe in something, you can change things.
Too sappy.
The Victoria Belfries of the world will take everything if you let them.
Kind of not sappy, but
it's a good story. A bad thing.
That was so good.
The key to bringing down Victoria Belfry is a bear claw.
I just let Henry twist in the wind for a while. I was like, well said.
Do you guys have Snickers in the States?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have hazelnut stickers? I mean, Snickers in...
I don't
Do
know.
we?
I don't really eat them, but Manic just said, Aaron, you're not yourself, have a Snickers.
Oh,
And
right.
so I was just saying, someone posted a picture of the Snickers and they're now like labeled, it says irritable.
Manic, you actually made me laugh out loud during the recording.
What did he say?
Yeah, you were laughing too. I think you saw it.
That
What was it?
the woman in the tower is Victoria's Secret.
I didn't see that.
Literally. We can refer to the woman in the tower as Victoria's Secret.
Let's not. Not in a family-friendly, clean podcast.
So funny, though. I feel like I thought of that a couple weeks ago, not specifically about that, but I was like, Victoria's got some secrets. Well, it's kind of funny.
All right.
Our closing should have been, and no, I don't care much for babies.
Wow.
That's so niche. I don't think anyone would have gotten it.
Nope, only the two people that watched What's Wonderland, according to Adam and Eddie.
Which is them
You
and
could
us.
have quoted her roommate and said, I forget how she said it, but she was just like, I have to go, but you hold on.
Or
See,
you're late for your shift.
Right.
Tiana called Jacinda J, and I thought, oh, Daniel's going to notice that, and he's going to use that. And then the name thing's going to be a lot easier for him.
Nope.
Nope.
We didn't talk about
No, he's just going to call her Gisela. Like, that's fine.
it. Gisela. with a J.
Gisela.
Giselle Arenda.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this. The episode will be online later at oncepodcast.com. Subscribe, especially if you want the spoilers. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast because that's now the only place that we deliver them, not in the recordings of our episodes. Thanks for hanging out with us, bearing with us with our technical difficulties. We'll be back Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern at oncepodcast.com/live.
Good night.